Hello! Okay, John Wick Chapter 4, one of my anticipated movies of 23. I absolutely love the John Wick movies. With Chapter 4, you've got John Wick who sets out to get revenge on the High Table and is hunted by a senior member of the High Table played by Bill Skarsgård. Now, just like the previous movies, this has some great action set pieces with beautifully choreographed fight scenes, you know, with beautiful wide takes of the action. You see it all. None of this close-up, shaky cam bullshit. You just see everything in all its glory. This was a beautiful movie to look at and to experience from all aspects. The cinematography in this movie is beautiful, and just like the previous movies, you know, Chapter 4 is a beautifully crafted action movie with imagination and passion behind and in front of the camera. You really feel that passion, and as a result just makes this a really good, enjoyable time. There is this one moment where the camera just pans from above as you view the carnage and Keanu Reeves just making his way from room to room, killing people in sort of different imaginative ways. And I just really love how that scene, how that moment played out with the camera. It was beautiful. I know I've mentioned beautiful quite a bit, but you know what this was? There were many aspects of this movie were just fucking beautiful. I loved it. Everything, or mostly everything, looks as if it's done on camera. And you know, you see Keanu Reeves doing his thing, and that he's actually doing it. He's fighting and he's doing whatever it is he's doing. And as a result, it's just a much more immersive experience. But it also shows how passionate Keanu Reeves is when it comes to his profession and this art. Just like Tom Cruise, he gives it his all, and he's just amazing in this. And you can't help but really like him and really root for him. He doesn't say an awful lot, but you just can't help but really root and care and like this character. The main villain, played by Bill Skarsgård, is good. He plays this slimy creep, and you really do just end up hating him. But for me, it's not quite on the same level as Alan Rickman's Gruber, and that's down to more of the writing, I felt, not the performance. Bill Skarsgård was good, but just, you know, these movies, I regard the John Wick movies as being some of the greatest action movies made alongside Mad Max, Fury Road, and Die Hard. But when it just comes to its villain in this particular movie, I liked his performance, I liked what he was doing, but I just felt like he wasn't quite up there at the same level of, like, Alan Rickman's Gruber. They do stretch what I felt is a thin storyline over 2 hours and 45 minutes. But they kind of did that in the previous two movies as well. For me, it was the actual journey within this storyline, and the action scenes and the craftsmanship which was behind this entire movie, and how they brought this movie to life, is what made it a truly exciting, fun and immersive experience. And I've said this many times before, yes, have a good story, but a lot of it depends on how that story is brought to life. And even though this does have quite a thin storyline, it's how this movie is brought to life and the passion that you can feel behind and in front of the camera is just what really makes this such a fun and immersive experience. There are emotional beats here within the story involving Kane, played by Donnie Yen, and John Wick himself. And there are sort of these emotional beats throughout the story, but I felt like they kind of skimped on those, and for me personally lacked that emotional punch that I felt like the movie needed at certain moments. But what I will say is Donnie Yen as Kane, I really dug his character and his performance. Donnie Yen was one of the standouts for me in this movie, and I kind of really liked his emotional sort of motivations behind why he was doing what he was doing. But again, like I said, I feel like they kind of skimp on those moments. And some of the action scenes in this film, just the way in which they shot, and sort of just the set pieces, everything just sort of just looks beautiful. It's brutal. I do think maybe one or two of the action scenes play out a tiny bit too long, but I'm not going to complain too much about that because it was just so enjoyable. And like the previous two movies, I do feel like this one in particular gets to a point where it's very close to falling into what I would call superhero territory, where there is a lack maybe of danger or threat to our main character. You know, for example, with the addition of bulletproof attire, it gave this movie an element of sci-fi 70s, 80s or even 90s Bond, and I felt like there was a danger of this sort of kind of falling into that territory of losing that threat, losing that danger. You never once feel the runtime. You know, this didn't feel like 2 hours and 45 minutes. I felt like maybe they needed to add a little bit more when it comes to the emotional beats for certain characters and what they're experiencing, but this movie just flowed beautifully. You know, this is a beautifully crafted action movie with clear passion behind the camera and in front. You know, I will regard this as being up there with some of the best action movies made, alongside Mad Max and Die Hard. It's also got a kick-ass score by a Tyler Bates and a Joel Richard. I really dug the score in this, and there's this one particular moment in France on this roundabout in Paris. It's a fantastic scene, but this music kicks in. It's kind of got this like industrial sort of sound to it, and it just really adds to the immersion and to sort of the excitement of the scene. I really dug the score. It does have some weaker elements, whether it be maybe the writing for certain characters or even throwaway characters when it comes to some of the new ones. But Donnie Yen for me was one of the standouts. But overall, you know, this wasn't enough to really detract away from the enjoyment and the immersion of this movie. And it's that passion that you can feel when you're watching it, and the craftsmanship. And you can't help but not be entertained. I was on board from beginning to end, and yeah, I did really enjoy this film. And yeah, they are my thoughts on John Wick Chapter 4, and I will be giving John Wick Chapter 4 an 8.5 out of 10. What did you guys think of John Wick Chapter 4? Please let me know below. Did you agree or disagree with anything I said? Then please let me know below, and let's get a discussion going. And if you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. If you want to see future reviews from a Welsh geek just ramble on, then please hit the subscribe button. It will mean an awful lot. Dungeons and Dragons is coming out next weekend, so I'll be catching that, and that'll be my next review. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you soon.